Hi, I'm June. I'm going to show you a video of my practice session that I did yesterday. And it correlates to the talk videos I had last few days. And it will probably bore your mind because this is what I mean by proper practice. There are many forms of practice, so I'm not saying this is the only way. When you want to improve your swing, you have to have some form of practice that's standard. So this is a standard practice. What I mean by that is there are practices where I can go to the range and want to shape shots. So I'll hit some solid standard shots, and then I will then shape it right to left, left to right, high, low, with shaping. That's the creative part of practice. So it's really fun too. And then you do all sorts of shots. I mean, there's times where I'll miss a shot and then I'll be like, oh, how did I do that? And I'll duplicate it just to see what caused it, because there's many forms of mistakes and I love looking at it and figuring it out. What I find most people do is when they miss a shot, they look away and get frustrated and mad. What I like to do is I just look at it. But it's not that it's not frustrating. It's just I've built that emotional muscle where I'm like, okay, I can get frustrated for a second, but what happened? So this video is completely spontaneous. All videos are. The message behind it, though, has been dug out of the ground with lots of reps, lots of golf shots, but also it's been applied to so many people. So I know that this can benefit you because it has benefited so many other people. So it's not just for myself that it's benefited, and that's why I want to share this. It just like popped into my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to share my practice session because it's going to describe physically some of the things that I've talked about in the previous videos about speed training isn't what it's cracked up to be, that it can only really help a few people maybe, that if somebody goes swing slow just to swing slow isn't a good thing. That's not a good tip if you're hitting bad shots or swinging bad and somebody says swing slow. That's not going to benefit you. This video is going to show you actually practicing a good motion in slow motion is very beneficial. And then it's going to also show you that there's not any point in my practice where I'm speed training and you'll see powerful shots. And you'll see that the club is going through very fast, but you'll also see that it's effortless, that I'm not exhausting my body and my mind. And you can see for yourself. And the cool part about it is I didn't create this video for this video. I wasn't even thinking about having this talk. And I love that. I love how creativity comes from just knowing things and pure information and knowledge. It just comes out. And so I was just like, I'm going to share one of my practice sessions. I video a lot of my practice sessions for no one to see. It's really just for myself because I like to see improvement. I like to fine tune things. So it's my lesson to myself. So that's why it's cool to share, because it's like, wow, I didn't plan this out. I didn't go, okay, I'm gonna start off this way just to prove that I was right. It's like, no, it's like, this is something that I do. All right, let's get started. Oh, before I get started, I had this measuring cup behind me in my last video. And you're probably like, why is there a measuring cup? But they're flowers from a cilantro that somebody gave me, and I cut them and I left it on the counter, and they were wilting as I was cooking. And I decided to put them in water and they came back alive. And so I just wanted to give them a few more days to blossom. Yeah, this channel isn't for presentation and Yeah, like you're probably gonna see this shirt so many times. I have a lot of clothes in my closet, but I get like stuck on things, especially when I'm walking my dogs. And if I'm doing videos during that time, it's like, you're gonna see this. And then I go and hit balls, and then you're gonna see this. There's other videos out there that are more fashionable, so you can check that out. All right, let's get started with my geeked out golf session. Like, I'm having a blast, and you're gonna look at it and it's gonna look very methodical. And initially, I like to start off really slow. And the video I talked about last week, where I said, when people tell you to slow down, that's still a slow, bad swing. Well, this is the definition of practicing in slow motion, which I encourage to do all the time. That is how you stop the flow of bad motion and you integrate the good one. So it's sort of a moving meditation thing that I want you to discover over time, is to be more awake during your practice session and be more aware. Now, this is going to be hard for a lot of you because you're just now learning some of the tips that you've been applying to your golf swing, and game may not be good. You're still probably on both ends of the spectrum, like, how can it be that bad? Or you'll fall into another tip. There's just a lot out there. But over time, you're going to want to figure out, okay, what are proper fundamentals? What are good things to work on? But right now, I just want you to see that, I take it really slow. There's no speed training here. It's literally about like just moving in slow motion, putting it in position. I have my students do this all the time. And at first it drives them crazy. And it's really hard because most golfers are not used to going slow methodically. They're used to like slowing a fast motion down to a degree, but a lot of people aren't used to methodically thinking things through and putting it in the right position. And also being aware of the bad motion. So to know what you're doing wrong and to apply the right movement takes a lot of patience in that way. Don't be deceived by the simplicity of how it looks. A lot of people do about the game. I have met so many beginner golfers that attempt to hit a golf shot on their first day of the lesson, and they're so surprised how difficult it is. They're like, it looks so easy. I mean, the golf ball's just sitting there, and the pros make it look so graceful and easy. And I always say, like, it's a little white golf ball, and you've got a stick-like apparatus in your hand with a club face that looks like a butter knife. And then you're trying to launch it over time, hundreds of yards. Like, what part of that is easy? On top of playing in nature and all the different conditions, uneven lies, and then to have the finesse for shorter shots, it's got a lot of difficulty. So I always tell people, when something looks easy, whenever I see something that looks easy and it's a skill set that has complexity, I always go, wow, that's tough to do. So I want you to sort of like shift your mind. If you don't, what happens is you go and try it and you think you should have it. And then when you don't, you get frustrated. Where it's like, no, it takes time. But that's the fun part, the process. You may not see me right there going, yes, yeah, because we think that's what having a blast is. That's joy, that's bliss. There's this other form that's like, when you do something, that's why I encourage, when you do a skill set that you love doing and you want to continue to grow. Some of you love golf. but you're not growing. That's why it's frustrating. But whatever skill set, if you want to paint or anything, it's just like you have to feel like you're growing, right? You're flourishing. And so I encourage like seeking right information, the right guidance, so that you can improve. Because there is so much fun that I get it. You're probably not seeing it in my expression, but man, with every shot, you feel the movements and the proper movements in a solid shot. It's like no other feeling, when you do what you love. As you see, I break my swing down, work on certain parts of my swing, a lot of the half swing motions, and sometimes I'll have where people that don't understand, like they're not my students, but they're seeing it from afar and they're like, why do you make people practice in slow motion? And my students get it too. They'll leave and they'll be like, you just did half swings most of the time, or you did it in slow motion. Like, she hasn't taught you the bunker shot and all these other shots. And I'm like, just wait. Just do the right motion, and then everything else over time will just happen. It'll just happen. It's truly what's cool is you end up liking all your clubs and not just your irons, and then not like your woods, or vice versa. Or you're good at your short game, but you're bad at your long game, or vice versa. So just patience does pay off. It's really a good thing, because what I notice is the ones that do say those things, they're not only frustrated in their game, but as the club gets longer, it seems like at some point all the clubs go the same distance. It's really not that big of a difference with a longer club versus a shorter club. And so it's like, that's what I mean by proper fundamentals, is you'll see a clear difference. Your driver should be the longest club in your bag. It is, but it should go far. And then your 7-iron should go longer than your 9-iron. But what I notice is a lot of times once the swing gets in the wrong groove, it just all kind of goes the same distance. Maybe just a little bit longer with longer clubs, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. So I want you to know the benefits of doing the right things. You'll notice that I start to do a longer swing and just let the club go. And the speed just happens from that, from the correct motion. Now, some students I have to encourage and teach them what letting go and trusting is. But all too often, people learn letting go and trust before they get a form. So whatever swing that they have, it could be a really bad swing. Somebody goes, oh, trust it, let it go. You're not trusting it enough. It's like, what is there to trust? You got to put it in good position to allow it to go. So sometimes I have students where they're getting to a point where they're getting a good motion, and if it doesn't go through effortlessly, then I allow them to, apply that mindset, is to trust the swing and let it go. You'll see some practices where I'll break things down and work on some things, and then there are some that I do a full swing. And then over time, I start to feel the power generating from just the repetition of a good motion. So the proper motion generates speed, its own speed. And yesterday, what's cool, that's why when I talk about effortless power, it's just why it's cool. Another reason why it's cool, there's so many reasons, is that I tapped into more effortlessness and more power. And you don't know when they're gonna come. Like, you just keep doing your thing, doing the right things, and it's like gifts. Yesterday, I felt like it was another level of effortlessness. The ball sounded even better and had more power. Now I'm hitting my hybrid, and it just, at this point, I tell my students, and then I do it for myself. So as you see, I tell my students what I do is that as you hit longer clubs like a hybrid or your driver, you gotta just go with the swing that you have. You can work on a few things, but you don't want to get too technical with these clubs because they're longer, and it's more of just trying to duplicate the swing that you practice with your shorter irons and your mid irons. Isn't that cool? And so you don't have to like get all technical with these clubs. These clubs are just like the side effect of your swing. It's more of a freer practice where you get less breaking down the swing, getting too technical. It's kind of like, okay, it's the side effect of all the technique stuff that you're training. And so then when I get to my driver, it's where your swing's at. You know, so I always tell people, you know, it may take a little while for your driver to kick in where it'll end up becoming your favorite club in your bag because it's just so fun. It's like a fast car without trying to swing fast. It's just a smooth ride, but it's fast, and it's powerful, but it's smooth too. And that's what I'm talking about. You don't need to go hard at it because that speed will just show up. And another thing that I debunked as an instructor is throughout my life as a student, I've had instructors say, oh, their game is not very good or their swing's not very good because they've been looking at bad swings all day long teaching them. And I kind of had it in the back of my mind, but at that time I wasn't planning to be an instructor. But as an instructor, I'm like, wait a minute, that is so false. Because when I teach my students, it reinforces what I do. And so it just kind of is this like awesome cycle where I can help others, and then it reinforces my own teaching and I apply it to myself. So when I talk about like effortless power, it really works. It's not only that it works for other people, but it works for me. And a lot of the things that are effective are deep rooted, and it's not visible. The outcome is visible, but what you work on can be a lot of times the opposite of what you think you should work on. Baseball players and athletes, where their weight shift is already there and their coordination is already there. It's just that they need proper guidance and stop being told, don't use whatever you've practiced, and golf is completely different because it's not. So as you see through this practice session where I start changing clubs, and this is my 5-iron, and this is what I'm talking about, where your 5-iron should go longer than your 7-iron or 6-iron. And a lot of times people max out on a certain iron and then all their other clubs kind of match it. So when you do the right motion, that's another thing that you can look forward to. And you don't have to have a bag full of hybrids. Like, you can have longer irons in your bag. And as you see, I'm starting to generate more power, but I'm not doing it because I'm forcing it. I'm not trying to swing out of my shoes. It's gonna look fast, and it's gonna look powerful through the shot, and it's gonna look like I'm sort of like leaping a little bit, because that's just the force that comes with it. That's the velocity and speed. And then you can hear the sound, and it's crisp. The shape of shots that I was practicing yesterday was a high draw. And then sometimes when I would miss, I would slightly pull it. And I always tell people, when they're getting to different levels, there's different kind of misses. And your misses should improve as your swing improves. So what I'm saying is, every level you can hit an errant shot. You can hit several. But what you're gonna notice is, as you get better, it'll be less randomly errant shots. It'll still be there, but a lot less. So when you watch a pro at a tournament and they miss a shot, people go, oh, they're just like us, you know? And I'm like, yes, they are, where they make mistakes. We're all human. but they will most often get out of it quickly. Where a lot of golfers, majority of golfers, once they start hitting bad shots, they're not only going everywhere or have more than a miss or two kind of direction, but it can be like where you have no idea where it's going. You know, it can be a heavy shot, thin shot, to the right, push, to, you know, pull to the left, slice. It could be where you don't know where it's going. Where when you get to the next level and the next and the next, your mistakes should start to create a pattern of itself. Yesterday, I started off pulling some shots, just a slight pull. And then I was able to work my way out of it and hit more of a high draw. So that was my mission yesterday. It was just like, I want to hit some high draws. But I started off with a few pulls to the left, and then I would hit a high draw. And then I would hit some pulls, and then I hit a high draw. But my miss was just kind of one directional. And that's what I'm trying to get people to do, is have less misses. Your misses are going to be there. And so a lot of times when a student hits a shot and I go, oh, that was a good miss, and they start to understand what that means, because they'll go from like like 100 different misses to like 30 different misses to just a few misses to then, you know, one or two. So you're always going to make mistakes. We're all human. Every pro makes mistakes, and they'll even like hit a shank. Like Rory, there's a video. He was at the range and he hit a shank or two, and he kind of laughed it off and then just started hitting pure shots. You end up knowing more about your swing to get back on it, and so you're not fully lost, because what people do is they hit some bad shots and then they don't know how to get back onto a good swing. And so that's why I like fundamentals too. There's so many reasons why. Is that too, is less frustration. When you hit a bad shot, you can go back on track to doing the right things. You have things to grab onto. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna get my setup back. I'm gonna do a good takeaway. You know, you go back to those things instead of, oh my gosh, what happened? And then you freak out and panic, and then you have no idea what to do, and then your playing partner goes, swing faster or go slower, you know, swing slow. You know, you're swinging too fast, you know, keep your head still. Those kind of tips just isn't good, or that towel drill, you know. So as you see, here's the cycle thing I was talking about. As I teach, but now as I share online and with you, it reinforces. So it's shaping your mind to go, oh wait, there's another way. There is effortless power. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I am falling down the rabbit holes. And me telling you, it's reinforcing for me to continue to do the form and allow effortless power to come through. And it helped me elevate it yesterday. And that was after the few talks I've talked about, you know, how speed training's not really a good idea. And, you know, if you have a bad swing, somebody telling you to go slow isn't a good idea. I haven't done the video about, and this video can be part about it, is slow motion training is good if you're working on the right things. So you're going to start to understand why I emphasize proper practice, working on the right things, fundamentals. Just because somebody labels something fundamental doesn't mean it is fundamental. So it's proper fundamentals. This is a good video to show you stuff that I talked about. I do believe that action speaks louder than words, but talking when it's good information is important. We've got to figure out a way to wrap our mind around something, and then to be aware of the distractions, to even focus on what we should focus on, to discern and decipher what's good information and what's bad. So talking is good in videos, I've discovered. Like when I'm teaching my students, it's all this stuff that you're seeing. Like, that's me practicing, but I don't talk that much when I'm teaching. Only the skill set, and then if they have questions, and then I have to use examples and things like that. I rarely talk about myself, but these videos, I have to, because I'm not having you tangibly move your body and to see it for yourself. So you've got to see me do it. You've got to see what I see. So this is a cool format because it's taking me outside of my box. And anytime I've done videos in the past, I'm always trying to figure out a way to show you. There was a guy who made a comment in one of my videos where he said, does she ever teach anything tangible or just talk in vague terms? I always view things in a way that is constructive. So sometimes I'll have negative comments and it's just negative. It just doesn't go anywhere. And then there's negativity, but I take it as constructive criticism. It's about speed training versus effortless power, and is it really worth your time and energy to speed train? And after my talk, which is really about just, hey, a lot of people don't know. And once you hear something, it seems obvious after I explain it to you, but it wasn't obvious, you know, before the video for most people. So a lot of times when I explain something, it's so blatantly obvious. I talk through something. This happens when I'm teaching too. People would have questions and things like that, and then after I explain it, it's so logical, not common logic, but like logic that's more closer to the truth, that it's like, oh, okay, I got it. You know, like, duh. But all those years before, people didn't get it. They would go, what are you talking about? And then you explain it, and it's just like, oh, well, of course, that's right. And so when I talked about speed training, I bet it started making sense. So then the guy responded or made a comment, and he said, are you ever going to teach anything tangible, or are you just going to talk vaguely? I wrote a long message back, and I explained that, you know, when I talk about people's injuries and things like that, it's really hard to tangibly show that through a video. The video is a totally different thing when it comes to like teaching and expression. But when it comes to teaching, it transferred really well when I'm doing live lessons. But when I'm doing these kind of talks, to have you just wrap your mind around it, I'm gonna have to talk quite a bit to explain. People need to wrap their mind around what's going on first, to even figure out what they should focus on. You know, there's just so much information out there. And like I said, like, even personally, to this day, I mean, I've proven with my students, and they've proven to themselves, they have way more distance than the average golfer. And they continue to improve. But something about our human nature that we can easily get distracted. And I don't mind that. Like, I actually think that if you want to keep trying things and then I help you out of it, that's okay. But man, there's this other kind of fun where it's like, okay, I see it's working. I just want to keep getting better. I'm done getting distracted. If there's enough proof, like, keep going. So basically I was telling the guy that, and then I'm like, you know, like, injuries, it's so hard to show on video. Like, I've seen so many golf injuries, and it's so hard to show it and make it tangible and things like that. But I said, I've done videos of my swing and lesson videos where I'm like talking and showing the shot, like, you know, that's tangible on video. But that comment came up because I never take things negatively unless it's a negative statement that doesn't go anywhere. Then I don't let it bother me, because I've had that my whole life. When you think of golf a different way than majority of the people, then it's not going to go over very well with people that don't want to understand you, so, or hear you out. So that's okay. Like, you can misunderstand me and say negative things. That's fine. But when it's negative, but then I can turn it around and be constructive. I like that, so that's fine. So when I was like looking at my video, I was looking at my practice session for myself last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, this can give that guy and other people something sort of tangible on video, because you can't really feel it and touch it and do the swing yourself like right on the spot. But on video, you can at least see what I'm talking about. So I was like, yes. So actually, that negative statement that could have been negative, and I could have taken it negatively, I was just like, no. I was told, you know, you've maxed out on distance. Like, you can only hit it so far. Look at your size. And I far exceeded what I was told. So that's why I share these things. I've overcame it. I've helped many people overcome it. And now, like, I want to show you what's happening. And you can now visually see what I was talking about. As you see when I'm practicing my driver, I'm not exhausted. You can see I'm just kind of like, okay, here's another shot, and I just, it looks effortless in that way. Is the effortlessness in the motion. But the motion, learning it and overcoming bad habits, takes effort. So it's not what I want you to do is go to the range and just take the club and, I'm going to be effortless, and just swing it everywhere and then expect effortless power to come from that. It is a motion that you have to be conscious of and work on and apply. And with that form and that patience of applying it and getting rid of bad habits, then as you do it, just the power. I mean, it's fun. I mean, the sound and the power, it's like no other. It's just pure. And that's why, like, even as a kid, just the game itself and that feel of hitting it solid and having, you know, fun rounds on the course. When somebody took me to the mall, unless it was like thunderstorm and there was a predictability of maybe a tornado or something, I would be like, all right, I'll go to the mall. But if the weather changed and I was in the mall and I look out and I'm like, oh my gosh, the weather is like, it's so much better now. I'd rather be here at the driving range than at the mall, sorting through all the different clothes and jewelry and purses and shoes. I love actually clothes. You can't tell because you see me wearing the same tank top and hat and things like that. But at the same time, it's torture for me to browse at a mall. So what I'm saying is find something that you love. And I'm telling you, give me a bucket of balls and leave me at the driving range and I'm happy. I've always been happy this way. And so find first what you love and then start staying awake during the process. Don't just fall asleep. Whatever it is, good or bad, you can do it in your sleep. So what I'm trying to do is wake you up and start doing good, proper reps, good motion. And first and forever, do it in slow motion at times. You know, start off doing slow motion stuff. And when you do that, you'll start to see change, and change is good. And then you start to tap into things that you can't even imagine. I mean, I couldn't imagine years ago that I would be able to now hit it even more effortlessly. Like, I didn't know there was another feeling of that. But yesterday I tapped into it even more. Like, I was just like, okay, it's always felt effortless, and it was getting more and more with more power. So that's what's cool about effortless power. It's not, oh, it feels effortless, and then your power doesn't grow. It's not about diminishing it either. It's about feeling like light in your body, but at the same time, that power becomes more powerful. It's really neat how this video happened, because I was just practicing videoing for myself to see my swing like I always do, getting geeked out about the golf swing. And then I get to share it with you. I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool, because this kind of shows what to do and why I'm talking about everything. Effortless power is the way to go. And I will talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace.